In this event, we'll be taking questions from constituents like you. To ask a question, please press star 3 on your telephone keypad to enter the question queue. You can easily get signed up to receive the Congresswoman's e-newsletter by pressing star 6. So again, press star 3 to ask a question and star 6 to subscribe to our newsletter. And with that, I'll turn it over to Congresswoman Goodlander. Congresswoman, the floor is yours, ma'am.
Well, thank you so much. I want to begin by thanking all of you who are on this call this afternoon for joining us. And just want to say three things at the outset. I'm really eager to hear your questions and to be in conversation with you. But just wanted to say three things at the outset. Today is day 35 for me on this job. And so exactly 35 days ago, at exactly 12 noon, I swore an oath to protect and defend our Constitution and to deliver for you. And I wanted to just say three things at the outset about what the oath means to me and how I'm approaching this job. You know, the first thing to say, the most important thing to say is that I swore an oath to our Constitution, and that document begins with three immortal words, we the people. What I love about this job, and it truly is the honor of my lifetime to represent you in Congress, is that I know exactly who I report to, and that is you. My chain of command flows up through everyone on this call. You are the boss, and for the next 2 years, the question I'm always going to ask is, how can I help you? How can our team help you? Because that is the work, and we are always just one phone call away, and I want to make sure that everyone on this call has our number, which is 603-226-1002. I want you to know that you can always reach us on goodlander.house.gov, and I hope you'll visit us in person in our offices. We're on Main Street in Concord, on Main Street in Nashua, and on Main Street in Littleton. We're also in the Cannon office building in Washington, D.C., number 223. This is your office, and it is my honor to represent you here. You know, the second thing I want to say is you sent me to the People's House with a clear directive to cut through the noise, to use common sense, to find common ground, and to deliver for New Hampshire and for the common good. And that is what I've always worked to do every time I've taken an oath to serve our country, in the Navy, at the Justice Department, in the White House, and now in the People's House. And that's what I'm working to do every day. I really do believe that government is a team sport, and I'm so grateful to our partners all across the 2nd District, including mayors who are on the call this afternoon. Mayor Donchis from Nashua, Mayor Champlin from Concord, Mayor Gerard in Claremont, Mayor McLaughlin in Franklin, and Mayor Cohn in Berlin. I'm so grateful to be working alongside you and all of our partners all across the 2nd District to deliver. And the third thing I want to say is, you know, as I'm looking always for common ground, I'm always going to stand my ground on your behalf. And as I've heard from thousands of our fellow citizens over the last 35 days, and especially over the past week, people are feeling a lot of pain, and people are faced with a lot of fear and uncertainty right now. The through line of the conversations I've had and the outreach that we've done and the incoming that we've received has been a real sense of uncertainty and anxiety around executive actions that we've seen come from the White House, from a freeze on federal funding to proposals for tariffs that may well start a trade war, to an upending of basic principles of our Constitution and the rule of law. You know, I'm hearing from law enforcement officers who are worried about having the resources to keep our communities safe, from school administrators who are worried about being able to pay our teachers, from small businesses who are working hard to pay workers and keep operations afloat, doctors who are worried about getting the federal dollars that they need to be able to provide quality health care. You deserve to know who is fighting for you, and what I want to tell you at the outset is I will always fight for you. I really look forward to your questions, and I want to thank you so much for being on the call today. And just to remind you, if you'd like to ask a question, you can just simply dial star 3. So thank you so much, and really look forward to your questions.
Perfect, Congresswoman. If you're ready, we can get to those questions. We've got Alan joining us on the line right now. Alan, you are live with Congresswoman Goodlander. What's on your mind?
Right now?
Yes, go ahead, sir, with your question.
Oh, thank you, Congresswoman, for taking my call. The worry I have is about the Department of Veterans Affairs. I'm of the generation that fought in Vietnam. I'm a Navy hospital corpsman, and with this administration threatening civil servants, after nursing school, I worked at the VA as a registered nurse, and it was a good bunch of people that worked. Now he's attacking civil servants, and he's also got his fingers poised to do something with the VA. Can you reassure me about its staying in place? Thank you.
Well, first of all, Alan, thank you so much for your service to our country. I'm a proud daughter of a Navy veteran, and I was proud to serve our country as an intelligence officer in the Navy Reserve for over a decade. I really do believe that we have a sacred obligation to our veterans, and I believe deeply in the important work that the Department of Veterans Affairs does for our service members. I came to Congress having led what was called the Unity Agenda over the past 4 years. And the Unity Agenda had at its center, the basic idea behind the Unity Agenda is that there are still basic promises that we can all agree on, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat across the ideological spectrum. And fulfilling a sacred obligation to our veterans is one of those important principles. So what I want to tell you is I am going to fight with everything I've got to find the common ground we're going to need to protect the Department of Veterans Affairs and the important work it does to deliver on our promises to our veterans, from health care across the board. And we want to hear from you and help you access the services and the benefits that are yours, that are promised to you under federal law. So this is a huge priority, and I'm happy to report that this is an area that is still one where we can find common ground, and I will always find that common ground. So thank you, Alan.
So remember, to get involved in today's discussion, all you need to do is press *3 on your telephone keypad. That'll take you into the question queue. Again, to ask a question on this live event, please press *3 on your telephone keypad. And next up, we've got Pamela joining us. She's got a couple of things on her mind, including the debt ceiling. Pam, go right ahead with your question.
Okay, thank you for taking my questions, Congresswoman. Question number one, we've had 3 airline accidents in the last week, and a jet is now missing off the coast of Alaska. I know firsthand from a government employee family member that Elon Musk's emails with calls to resign are traumatizing. These emails initially went out to air traffic controllers. I believe the administration's ruthless dismantling of the federal government is undermining employee focus and putting the nation's safety at risk. How can we restore power to the legislative branch so Congress can start working together on the budget and debt ceiling? We need to get federal funding debates back to the legislative branch where it belongs, and Congress really needs to commit to working together to make the hard choices on how to allocate resources. Kind of a statement, but there were questions in there. Do you want me to go on with question number 2, which is a shorter thing, or should I listen to your response to question 1? Okay.
So, ma'am, I think it would be best if you would go ahead and provide your second and follow-up question, please.
Okay. The other question is from a Newsweek article published February 4th. Elon Musk put out a poll on X asking if he should, quote unquote, audit the IRS. If Elon is given access to the IRS computer system, he has access to all of our brokerage and bank accounts, which are on the 1099 DIV and 1099 INT filings. What will stop him from draining my accounts or leaking my confidential information to a third party and ultimately causing panic in the financial systems? That was it. Thank you.
Well, Pamela, thank you so much for those questions, which I think are really go to the core of what's been on my mind throughout these last 35 days, which is really finding, when you ask how can we restore the power of the legislative branch, we in Congress have got to use the tools that our Constitution provides to us. And as I look at what's ahead, the Constitution couldn't be clearer. Let's just start with federal funding streams. The Constitution couldn't be clearer. It says right in Article 1 that no money is drawn from the Treasury but in consequence of appropriations made by law. Now, I've heard some of my colleagues say in the past couple of weeks that appropriations laws are not actually laws. This is one of the most chilling statements I've heard, because what we have are federal funds that are promised to the people of New Hampshire by Congress, passed by both houses, signed into law by a president, and what I can tell you is I will fight with every tool I've got to make sure those funds reach our communities. I'm also at the same time going to fight to make sure that that includes payments, Social Security payments, Medicare payments, Medicaid. These are programs that are sacred promises we make to the American people. And so what I'm doing is I'm looking at every legislative tool at my disposal, and I'm working to find solutions that all can agree are good government, because at bottom what we see is an attack on government itself, sometimes in the dead of night, by people who have never served in our government before. And it's a danger to our way of life, and I don't say that lightly, but that is what we're up against. So I am looking for every legislative solution. I've been really proud to join together with my colleagues to put forward very common sense legislation that's going to protect your data and that's going to protect the resources that are promised to you, so that we are not seeing disruptions in the flow of federal funds to you and to our communities. I think the second thing I'd say is that the courts, we have a system of three branches, and we have separation of powers, but I think the courts are going to be, as they have been throughout our country's history, an essential backstop and a protection to you and to the rule of law. And so I have a background having worked inside of our federal courts, and I'm going to continue to find ways to use the tool of litigation to make sure that we are upholding the rule of law and protecting the funds that are promised to you by law.
Thank you very much, Congresswoman. And did we approach that second question, which kind of in summary is how do we stop Elon Musk?
Yes. So to be clear, the legislation that I've been proud to join and the proposals that I've looked at, the oversight letters I've sent have been squarely directed on ensuring that federal databases and federal repayment websites, which are really the lifeblood of how government operates and how federal funds flow to our communities, are going to be protected, that your data and your dollars are going to be protected.
Perfect. Thank you very much for drilling down on that for me. And let's get to another question. We've got Jillian joining us on the line now. Jillian, welcome to the call. You're live with Congresswoman Goodlander. What's on your mind?
Hi, thanks for taking my call. I'm wanting to know, with so many issues happening and, like you said, things happening in the middle of the night and Trump signing executive orders, how you're deciding who to protect and what to protect first. I'm worried about Medicaid ending. I have a child who has significant disabilities and cannot live without Medicaid. And I'm worrying about my children continuing to have access to school if the Department of Education shuts down. Again, with the disabilities my children have, they would not be allowed in school anymore if IDA shuts down. With so many things happening, how are you deciding what to tackle first?
Well, Jillian, thank you so much for your question, for being with us today. We are working round the clock to protect, and you mentioned two really important issues. Number one, protecting Medicaid. When I think about my North Star, it's really fighting to make sure that you have access to the health care you need and that you can afford that health care and that it's quality health care. And protecting Medicaid is going to be an essential priority for all of us in the days ahead. Look, this comes down to basic promises that we've made to you, to the American people, and I will be fighting to protect Medicaid and your access to health care. We have a lot of work to do to make health care more affordable in New Hampshire and across the country, and that's going to be a massive priority for me. The same is true about education. Look, this is a promise to our kids, and when we talk about the Department of Education, what we're really talking about is federal dollars that are so essential to schools in New Hampshire. We're talking about, on an annual basis, more than $1 billion that flow through. And you mentioned one of the things I'm really passionate about, which is IDEA and ensuring that Congress lives up to the responsibilities that we have under federal law to properly fund our schools across New Hampshire. And Congress is chronically underfunded, the promise that we made under law. And that has had an impact in communities across New Hampshire, from Pembroke all the way up to Pittsburgh. The impact of Congress not living up to its obligations is making life harder for hardworking people like you, for families across New Hampshire. So the principle that guides me in everything I do is how can I fight to make sure that you are getting the funds and that you are getting the services that are promised to you. And when it comes to healthcare and education, these go to the core of how we can deliver on the American dream, making life affordable and giving everyone an opportunity to pursue it.
It is fantastic to see so many people connected to this call today and participating. Did you know the Congresswoman and her staff put out a very informative e-newsletter? And you can get signed up to receive that right here, right now, by pressing *6 on your telephone keypad. Again, get subscribed to the Congresswoman's e-newsletter by pressing *6 on your telephone keypad. Now we're heading out to Center Harbor, where we've got Margaret on the line with us. Hi, Margaret. Go ahead with your question, please.
I'm not sure if you mean me.
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead, please.
Okay, because I go by the name Peggy. I wasn't sure where you got Margaret from.
I think it's part of the caller ID, and I apologize for calling you by the wrong name.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just really concerned about what Congress is going to do about Elon Musk's illegal behavior. I, as a private citizen, and that's what he is, he's an unelected person, I couldn't go into the Treasury Department and start pushing people around. Why is he allowed to do this? I mean, what can Congress do, or what are they not doing, and what can they be made to do to stop this illegal activity and stop him from raiding the Treasury Department and having Social Security payments, income tax refund payments, and so on and so forth. Just what can be done?
Well, Peggy, thank you for your question. And look, this is what we're talking about here, as you say. We're talking about $6 trillion every year that go through the Department of Treasury's payment system. Talking about Social Security and Medicare benefits. We're talking about tax refunds. Talking about critical payments that are made on contracts, on promises that the federal government makes to our partners at every level. So these are databases that have highly sensitive details about millions of us, our names, our birth dates, our social security numbers. This is data and dollars that should be protected clearly under federal law. So what I've done, Congress has, I think, really two basic tools, and we are looking to leverage those tools in every possible way. The first is through legislation. And just yesterday, I was really proud to join what has been a bipartisan bill, the Taxpayer Data Protection Act, which is going to make sure that anyone who has access to this very sensitive payment system has lawful authorization, a track record of professional service, the necessary security clearances, which, because as you say, this has been called into question. We've got to make sure that people who have access to this system have made the proper ethics commitments, that they don't have conflicts of interest, that they've been properly trained on cybersecurity. You know, for the last several years, we've been really focused on protecting these systems from foreign adversaries. But, you know, as I said at the outset, I took an oath to protect and defend our Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And part of that promise means that we protect the systems, the data, and the dollars that are yours. So this is important legislation, and we are looking for every avenue to advance legislation that's going to help protect you and to protect the federal funding that is yours. The second, though, and relatedly, Congress has important oversight responsibilities under our Constitution, and I've been really focused on joining my colleagues in sending oversight letters at every possible opportunity to make sure that we're getting the information. And this is core to how our system of checks and balances has got to operate. The executive branch, including departments that are created by acts of Congress, has got to be responsive to the Congress, to the American people, to you. And so we want to hear from you whenever you are encountering a problem around receiving federal benefits, federal dollars. And I hope you'll visit our website, goodlander.house.gov. We've been collecting and tracking and working to fight for on every front when we have heard about disruptions in the flow of federal dollars and disruptions to federal government websites themselves. But Peggy, what I can promise you is that we are using every tool we've got, including legislation, including oversight, and including litigation, to protect you and to protect the dollars and the data that are yours.
Our next question comes from Cynthia in Grantham. Cynthia, you are live with Representative Goodlander. What is your question?
Hi, thank you so much for taking my call. Echoing everybody's concerns, I would like to know what we can do as citizens to support you and our Congress people on getting those checks and balances back into place. I heard the proposed bill that you mentioned about data protection for taxpayers. I imagine that calling in and supporting that bill might be something. Are there other things that we can be doing? And I'm sorry, I'm going to add one last thing. I am concerned about all the things, as I said, that everybody's been saying, but also about things that need to be happening, like addressing climate change, that we are not going to be able to do because we're addressing all of these crises that have been created by the executive branch. So I'm concerned about things that we should be doing and can't be doing, and also wondering how we can support Congress.
Well, Cynthia, thank you so much. You know, the first thing I said is true. You are the boss. I work for you, and I can serve you best when I hear from you and when I hear your priorities, when I can understand how I can help you. And so the past 2 weeks have been it's been really important for us to hear directly from fellow citizens all across the 2nd District and from our partners, including all the mayors on the call this afternoon. You know, we need to hear from you, and because really the last 2 weeks has been an uncertain time for all of us to really try to, you know, we've spent a lot of time trying to really understand where the difficulties have where people have encountered difficulties in receiving federal benefits and federal payments. And so the first thing I'd say is we want to hear from you. And, again, I'll repeat, please call us. Please write to us through our website. Please come and see us in our offices across the district. We want to be in conversation with you. Our website has a lot of information about the legislation that I've been working on, the oversight work that we've been championing, and so you can follow us in that way. But the most important thing I would say, Cynthia, is that we've got to hear from you because the more I know from you, the better I can fight for you.
So I would like to repeat the Congresswoman's website, which is goodlander.house.gov. Again, goodlander.house.gov. Now let's get back to another caller with a question. We've got Susan in Bridgewater. Susan, you're live with the Congresswoman. Go ahead now.
First of all, Congresswoman, I'd like to congratulate you on your grace and your ability to articulate under pressure. You're doing a great job, and thank you for that. I think you've already addressed my question about my 96-year-old mother's Social Security payment in the broader sense. I think as a legislator, your arms are sort of tied in that you are not an enforcement body. The horse is kind of already out of the barn in that the DOJ team has already been into the Treasury and already has all of our information. So protecting it in the future will be great. But most pressing on my mind right now is, who has our information right now? Who has our money? And what do we do next? I can tell you that I am reluctant to pay taxes or to pay my school loans until I know what the heck is going on. And I'm wondering if I should be changing my mother's bank account numbers and freezing credit and things of that nature. Given that the theft has already occurred, what do you think we as citizens can do, now that our personally identifiable information has been leaked and HIPAA and FERPA violations have happened? What are the legislative representatives doing in terms of finding and enabling an enforcement body to stop these people what they're doing?
Well, Susan, thank you for being with us this afternoon. And let me just say at the outset, Social Security, these payments, Social Security is a bedrock promise that we make as Americans to one another. And your mom, at 96, has been paying into the system her entire working life. And so there's no more important mission than to protect that sacred promise to your mom and to all Americans who, Social Security is not an entitlement. This is a promise that we make in it and that we've got to deliver on. So I am using every tool I've got to try to get to the bottom of how we can protect this system. We have sent oversight letters to every relevant department and agency, and it's both at the Department of Treasury, but I'm also serving on the Small Business Committee. The Small Business Administration is also got to be accountable to the American people about what information is able to be accessed in their databases, and we are fighting for transparency. And look, that is a principle that we should all share. What I would say, Susan, is that we want to hear from you if you're encountering any disruptions in it or having any trouble accessing. If you have any concerns about at all, I hope that you and everyone on this call will call our office at 603-226-1002. We have an incredible team, some of the best caseworkers in the country, I believe, who really understand the Social Security Administration and who we are here to help you navigate this. And as I said before, we're trying to advance all of the legislative solutions that we can. This is something that I believe everyone can agree on, that your data and your dollars should not be disrupted. And so that is my my persistent focus and my promise to you.
So our next caller, we've got Meg from Pelham on the line with us. Hi, Meg. Welcome to the call. Go ahead with your question, please.
Hi. Thank you so much, Congresswoman. I know I've called the office before about this, but my husband is a federal employee. We have a neighbor that is a federal employee. I have other family who are federal employees. My son's basketball coach and his wife are both federal employees. The fork in the road emails have been demoralizing and unprofessional in language that they've received, and it's causing all this real worry for our future plans for our families, not knowing what's coming down the line. And, we're trying to make real choices right now about future expenses that we have to make deadlines on, and we don't know what's happening. We don't know if there'll be jobs tomorrow. We don't know if there'll be jobs in 6 months, and I'm wondering what you and the legislature, Congress can do to ensure that federal employees are protected, because right now the uncertainty is really taking its toll on all of us.
Well, Meg, thank you for being here. Thank you to you and to your family for your service to our country. And it's, I've spent most of my working life in federal government service, worked in all three branches of government, and it breaks my heart, and it frankly enrages me the way that federal government workers are being treated right now. It's wrong. It's at odds with our values. It's at odds with how our country has always operated. Patriotic public servants, many of whom are nonpartisan, who wake up every day and who are just trying to do right by the American people, have been treated with disrespect, have been villainized, and have been put, as you said, Meg, in a position of real uncertainty. And so what I want to say to you is an important tool here, in addition to the legislative and oversight tools that we're putting to use in every way we possibly can, we have the courts, which are an important backstop. And as we saw earlier today, a federal judge has put a hold on the effort to advance the so-called quote-unquote buyout, which is really not a buyout at all. And so we are tracking closely the ways in which litigation and our federal courts can work in conjunction with our legislative efforts to protect federal workers and to hold the executive branch accountable.
So next, we've got Lisa joining us from Hillsborough. Lisa, welcome to the call. Go ahead with your question for Congresswoman Goodlander.
Good afternoon. First of all, thank you so much for hosting this. I'm so appreciative. A lot of my things have been touched on. I work in ed tech, concerned about the Department of Ed being abolished, concerned for all the kiddos and their families. So I'm just wondering, is there anyone in the background looking at putting together the ripple effect that all of these cuts, or as Doge likes to call it, waste, looking at how this will impact everyone, the jobs that will be lost, the economy, groceries, housing? We're all worried. Federal employees are worried. I know people that work for CDC, that are working in other positions in the federal government. While I work in the private industry, it will have a ripple effect down to me too. There's the potential I could lose my job. So farmers, is anybody in the background putting all this information together so that we have that data to show, to share? And my other question is, that's been touched on with Elon, but are the Democrats going to go back to more grassroots strategies to help combat and fight back? I'm willing to do my part as far as getting out and hitting the pavement and making phone calls, but I feel like we've been taking the high road and trying to be so nice all along, and we keep getting beat. And this is what's happening. And so I'm terrified, and I just kind of like to know what we can do to help.
Well, thank you so much for being here this afternoon, for that question, and for what you said, because this is, look, what we're doing right now is the really the beating heart of what makes our democracy work, to hear your concerns, to hear from you and what the impacts of a federal funding freeze would have on you and your communities. This is what we've really been trying to chronicle. To your first question about how are we putting this all together, I mean, it's really not an understatement to say that federal funding is the lifeblood of what makes New Hampshire able to operate as a government to deliver for the people of the Granite State. These dollars touch every aspect of our life. And, if you just go to the core questions of how we're going to lower costs and make life more affordable for hardworking people who are feeling a lot of pain right now from housing, and just in the 35 days that I've been in this job, we've been able to deliver federal funds to New Hampshire to help address our housing crisis. We know we have to build 60,000 more homes in New Hampshire by 2030, and we've got to get to work on that. And federal dollars are going to be a huge piece of how we make that happen. A federal funding freeze could put those dollars at risk. The same goes to healthcare, to child care. I was up in Gorham last week, meeting with an incredible group of people who are helping to deliver affordable child care all across the North Country. These efforts rely on federal dollars, and we're not talking about large sums of money. We're talking about really modest sums of money that make all the difference for people across our state. And so we want to hear from you. We are working together with our partners across government, including our mayors who are on the line this afternoon. I wanted to give our mayors an opportunity to weigh in. I think they're able to unmute. But we have mayors, as I said at the outset, Mayor Cohn in Berlin, Mayor McLaughlin in Franklin, Mayor Donchester in Nashua, Mayor Champlin in Concord, and Mayor Jael Gerard from Claremont. So I wanted to give our mayors an opportunity to weigh in as well.
Do we not have a mayor looking to step in? Let me go ahead and call on one of the mayors. Nashua Mayor, have you unmuted, sir? Looks as though we might be having a technical glitch, Congresswoman. I do apologize for this. Real quickly, I'd like to take a moment and remind everybody on the line with us that the Congresswoman and her staff put out a very informative e-newsletter very frequently. You can get subscribed to that by pressing *6 on your telephone keypad right now. So again, if you would like to get enrolled in the Congresswoman's free e-newsletter, please press *6. And on the technical side, let's see if we've worked through that. Do we have any mayors available to us? No, I apologize about that.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. We can hear you. Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. This is Mayor McLaughlin from Franklin. I'm here with 3 of our city councilors. So we are available, and we've been listening, and we're very grateful to hear these questions, and we were sort of discussing it during the little break there with technical difficulties, that we're grateful to hear we were calling it the 3 L's, the letters, the laws, and the litigation, which are 3 excellent tools that our Congresswoman Goodlander is going to use, and those are key, because some of our concerns here are definitely federal grant monies coming. I know that we've had a pause on one of them because we immediately went to what's our exposure and liability. Then we the education is that Medicaid, everything that could be disastrous. So we are over here in Franklin looking to see what our exposure. Look at our next move into combat some of these issues that have cropped up rather quickly. And I'm grateful for this call. So I do thank you. I don't know if any of our representatives. No. So I am grateful. We are also wondering about federal mandates that are not funded. That's IDA. Like IDA. I'm going to give this. This is coming from Counselor Al Warner. So if you want to speak a little further.
Go ahead. Yeah, what I was bringing up or trying to pass a note to Mayor McLaughlin is a lot of times the issues that we have in our local school district relate to mandates that come all the way from the federal government, and they're not funded at the federal or at the state level. Is there any, are there any plans to perhaps address this type of mandate that is not funded until it gets down to the local taxpayer?
Well, Mayor McLaughlin, thank you so much for everything you're doing. I'm grateful to be in partnership with you and with your whole team in Franklin. And thank you for the alliteration of law, litigation, and letters, because those are three core tools. And when I say letters, it really is the voices of everyone on this call and everyone around our state. So thank you for that. I'm going to use the alliteration wherever I possibly can. But look, you ask about unfunded mandates, and this goes to a core problem of governing. When we don't actually supply the resources that our communities need, the burden does shift down to local communities and to the people themselves. So this is why I am so focused on protecting the federal dollars that really are critical across the board. It's just there's no way to overstate how important these dollars are to really every aspect, fundamentally to our way of life in New Hampshire, from our hospitals and healthcare providers to our law enforcement officers, our police officers, our firefighters, our teachers in our schools. These resources that are promised to you flow to every part of our lives, and that is why I'm so focused on fighting for them, and grateful to be working in partnership with you, Mayor, and your team in Franklin.
Thank you very much, Congresswoman. And I'm going to step in here because I just looked at the clock and I understand that we do have a hard stop coming up due to scheduling. But I want to make sure that we get back into at least one more question from folks on the line with us. And that honor is going to go to Judith. Judith, you've got USAID on your mind. Go ahead with your question, please.
I'm actually having to walk to another meeting, so I may get cut off. I actually am so very happy that you've had this meeting with us, and I hope you continue to do this. I'm a former employee of USAID, and as others have said, the way that civil servants and foreign service officers are being treated is just so despicable, let alone financially difficult. It sounds like you're doing as much as you can. Please let us know what we can do as well, if there's anything you can suggest. And then it just seems that Musk is doing things that are illegal, and I don't understand why he's not just arrested. So can you comment on that maybe?
Well, Judith, thank you for your service to New Hampshire and to our country. The efforts to dismantle USAID, which is an organization created under John F. Kennedy's administration by an act of Congress, it truly is. It's a lawless effort that we've got to have accountability for this. It is, and this is. We've got our tools of law, new laws, of litigation to enforce existing laws and basic principles, and this really goes to the core of Congress's constitutional responsibilities. We said earlier, we don't enforce the law, but we do write the laws, and we have the ability to seek enforcement of those laws in our courts. And so that's going to be a really important piece of this. Hearing from you directly, and we've heard from folks all across our district, from organizations and from individuals who have worked for USAID, who are the recipients of USAID dollars, including there's a story in WMUR just a few days ago about a Milford-based organization that is doing fantastic work to help kids with disabilities. It is at risk right now because of the lawless efforts to dismantle USAID and to disrupt the dollars that are flowing to terrific organizations all across New Hampshire and all across our country and the world. So this is lawless. It really does undermine our national security too. I saw this firsthand in the work I did in government. This organization, USAID, was created with a really important mission that at bottom is about keeping our country safe, keeping our people safe. And so that is why I have urged Secretary Rubio, President Trump, to put an end to this chaos and to make sure that the important work of people and organizations across New Hampshire is allowed to continue. So we will be using our tools to that effect. And Judith, I really appreciate your service.
So, Congresswoman, as I mentioned, we need to begin to wrap up this call, but I want to make sure that I give you some time for some closing thoughts and words of wisdom, please.
Well, I want to thank you all again for this conversation, and we're eager to bring people from all around the district together on teletown halls, by meeting you in person. We've been pounding the pavement. We've got for a small state, our district is a really big one. It's 6,500 square miles, and I want to meet you all where you are as often as I possibly can. And so I hope you will continue to join us as we convene in person and on the phone and online. And I hope that you will reach out to us by phone. Again, our number is 226-1002. You can reach us online at goodlander.house.gov. I hope you'll subscribe to our newsletter and follow us on online, and you can get all that information on our website. But, the questions today, I'm grateful for them, and so many of them go to the core of what makes me so proud to represent New Hampshire. We really are the state that no one does democracy better than we do. We believe in it deeply, and we practice it. And this is an expression of what is great about our democracy. I want to represent you as best I possibly can, as faithfully as I possibly can, and hearing from you directly is the best way for me to do that. So I'm really grateful for the time you've all taken to be a part of this conversation, and look forward to staying in touch and to the next time that we can get together. So I want to thank you all again. And if you want to subscribe to our newsletter, you can stay on the line after this call, and we can help you get signed up. So thank you all again.
Thank you very much, Congresswoman. Sorry about that, Congresswoman. Thank you for your time, Congresswoman Goodlander, as well as your staff for putting on this event. I want to also thanks to the area mayors who joined us for this call too. And especially thank you to everybody for joining us for today's live telephone town hall with Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander. If you haven't spoken to a member of our team yet about subscribing to the Congresswoman's e-newsletter, please stay on the line. Then, at the sound of the tone, give us your name and your email address, and spell that out for us, and we will then get you subscribed. Again, thanks for your time today. We hope you stay healthy and safe. Have a great day and a wonderful weekend. Goodbye, everyone.